at the beginning here, just kind of talk through, like, for you, what led you into starting your private training business? Like, how did you initially get into it?
So, I mean, it's a couple of reasons, but I'll give you like maybe two of the main reasons. Um, I would say in general, I actually uh hired a personal trainer myself one day. The first time I ever hired a personal trainer was in college. I had transferred to a school named Azusa Pacific University, but I had transferred in with a torn ACL. So I had to go in through the surgery,
Wow.
the big time like recovery. So I knew right off the bat, like if I ever wanted to go pro, I had to get like back. Like this was the time to, you know, catch up because I was going to fall behind at least around a year. So I wanted to do extra work and I knew I needed a trainer. I didn't know who it was going to be. I just went on Coach Up, Google and everything, and I got a trainer. And then, kind of just figuring out like how he works with me closely. I felt like that was the type of attention I needed.
Hmm.
I felt like the connection that I had with him was great. Like it was a good experience. So I was happy to have a good experience with the first trainer. And then I would say the second trainer that I ever ended up getting came from South America, and he was just the way his setup, everything was set up. I was like, it was so neat. He was so prepped. He was so professional
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so passionate. And to me, like there was something about that where I was like, man, like this is cool. Like this feels very professional. That was
Hmm.
more from like the professional standpoint where I really um liked his passion for it. And I had a passion for soccer myself, but I had never really placed myself in a coach's perspective and how they deal with players up until him. It was
Right.
very the setup and everything was very neat. And then I would say the overall the third thing was one of my college coaches at Azusa Pacific. Um, I'd asked him like, "Hey, what do you think about like me going into coaching ever?" And he was a great coach. He made us a very successful team. But he told me one day he was like, I think you would be a great coach because of the attention to detail that you place in your game. So he was referring to me as a player and like the
Yeah.
attention to detail to everything that I would do as a player for him. He said
Hmm.
I would be a great coach someday. And so all those little details stuck with me. And so it's still a mixture of a couple. I know I named three actually, but it was a
No,
couple
that's all important.
couple of huge things that really kind of made that turning point for me and helped me see coaching differently. And start earlier because realistically, I thought I was going to start coaching. I thought in my mind, I had told myself like, I can only coach players until I'm like in my 30s and 40s. But I kind
Right.
of convinced myself that that's what I had to do in order to coach. I had to play a super long career. But I mean, recently I've been playing and coaching. So I'm kind of learning how to play better and coach. I
Right.
learn how to coach as I play. So all the experiences I take as a player, I transferred over and I coach that same experience.
That's really cool. Yeah, you're a very unique type of person that I work with because you're still playing
Yeah.
at a really high level. And so you experienced that in college where you had that injury and then you had the trainer that helped you. Were you all doing, was it like technical training or was it like strength training? Like, what were you doing with that first trainer?
I would say it's just more so technical. He was because every coach is a little bit different. Like
Mhm.
everyone's either like a lot of personal trainers are different. There's like the shooting expert, there's like the
Mhm.
fitness expert. Like I would consider myself a little bit more of the fitness and technical type of expert. Um, and then he was more of like a skills expert. Like we would just like a bunch of ball mastery drills,
Mhm.
you know, like in-game scenarios like fake shots, how to practice feints and other details like that, some shots. Um, so yeah, that was a lot of what we worked with. And
Mhm.
it did get a bit difficult to train with him after some point because I started getting a lot of shin splints. So I
Mhm.
was actually starting to do too much,
Yeah.
too much too soon off my recovery. So that
Mhm.
was kind of what slowed me down, and I had to back off of training with him and then also back off my own individual training. So,
Mhm.
but that's pretty much a lot of what we worked on. So,
Gotcha. Gotcha. And then when you fast forward to starting your business, what year did you start your business?
so I should say officially last year, but I was doing a bit of like very few one-on-ones towards the end of the year in 2023.
Gotcha.
I'd say like maybe I had like 3, maybe 4 clients
Hmm.
by the end of 2023. And then 2024, I said, you know what, like this is the year to really start it up, to come up with a logo, come up with a brand name. And so I actually named it Elite Soccer Academy 24. And
Hmm.
then it was like a perfect time because, for me, Kobe was like one of my, you know, all-time favorite athletes outside of soccer just to watch.
Hmm.
And he was a huge inspiration, his thrive and everything. So I kind of named the 24 part after him. And so it all landed at the same time, 2024. So why not? It's just called my company.
Gotcha, man. So you started officially in 2024,
Yeah.
and so you've been doing this for about a year and a half now.
Hmm.
Oh, I think I lost you, man. Are you still there?
Yeah, you froze up a little
Oh,
bit, but I got you back.
gotcha. Cool. So you've been doing this for well over a year now. I always try to figure out with coaches that have been doing this for over a year, like what's your level of confidence at this point? Because you've had a lot of experience training a lot of kids, but what's your level of confidence as far as like when a new client comes in, as far as like how you can help them versus like when you first started training kids? Because I think you personally, I think you had a good advantage of when you were younger, you hired a coach and a couple of coaches, so you kind of see what they were doing. And I know it's a little bit different for coaches that are just starting and they haven't maybe had a trainer before.
Yeah.
Uh, so how is it now though? I'm curious, like with your level of confidence when you take on a new client where it's like, yeah, you feel really good that you can help them versus like maybe at the beginning when it just felt like a newer thing.
Yeah. So I would say my client, my one-on-one. So I did a lot of one-on-ones last year. Like
Yeah.
I did all one-on-ones last year. So I would say my confidence was actually starting to get pretty high. Right away with the one-on-ones because all I had to do was deal with one player and I kind of had to just
Hmm.
plan and I didn't have too many clients. So my confidence was pretty good for the most part. But I will say where my confidence was like super low was when I started doing group training. And then you kind of inspired me to do the group training because I realized that scaling my business was going to depend on, groups and a little bit more athletes all at once.
Hmm.
So my confidence was really, really low because I didn't really know how to run my group classes. I didn't really know, like, what if this player is not that skilled at this particular drill or
Hmm.
passing activity, and then what if it frustrates this player? And then like I knew how to assess players, but I didn't know how to group them together. Like that was a
Hmm.
scary part for me. And so actually, I would tell my girlfriend, and she would come to all my group sessions. Till this day, she still does, and huge supporter, but I would tell her about how much anxiety, like I would literally get anxiety, kind of like feeling like anxiety attacks before class because I'm like, I have such a high expectation for myself as a
Yeah.
coach. And like, if I butcher one, like even just one drill, and it's not me, keep in mind, it's not me butchering it, but it's like the fact
Right.
that group 2 or 3, 4 kids together, and if it
Hmm.
doesn't flow well, then my whole mindset is like, oh my God, I think I just pissed off
Yep.
some people or something. So that was kind of like where my confidence was at. It was like very low. I didn't know if it was going to work out. I didn't know if,
Hmm.
you know, what I was already thinking like what could possibly go wrong. But I think, I don't know, in a way that was a good thing because it helped me separate certain players that maybe weren't on the same level. So that's kind of like started getting me organized with my group sessions a little bit more. So now though, I'm a bit more confident now. The confidence is higher because I know that when I've gone through the consultation process with a player and a parent, I kind of understand like what level they're in, so I can actually put them in the right class.
Right.
It's not like just grabbing a bunch of players and just putting them in one class. I actually refer the client to the exact class of his exact age range and then most likely his level too. So
Right.
that's where my
That's yeah,
yeah
that's huge.
confidence started to go up a lot more then because now I understand like even if the player was a little behind, he wasn't like so far in advance or so far behind that it would probably piss a couple players off. So
Hmm.
um that was just more of like, and that was all new because I had done 2024. I had done all just one-on-ones. I had never really
Hmm.
done groups at all. So then I'm still,
Hmm.
even today, like I have a group or two groups today. Like I'm still slowly gaining experience, but now it's like my confidence is way higher. Now I can actually run team sessions, right? Like I can even go as far as to run team sessions. And actually, my confidence was so low that I wanted to get better in team sessions. So I went through the whole I went through the whole coaching system, and then I actually got my D license
Oh, cool. Yeah, I
just
see that.
just 2 weeks
It's
ago.
awesome.
So I
Cool.
wanted
Congrats.
to I wanted to keep climbing the ranks in the
Hmm.
license system, so that I can get better with groups. So I knew
Yep.
eventually I was going to have to deal with them at some point, whether it was for my business or whether it was for the club setting. But I feel like this sort of license, it helped me increase my confidence so much more.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, and I, I've seen a lot of coaches that have either talked to me and some that have joined my program in the past. It's like they're so focused on one-on-one, and I think that is an amazing starting point for a lot of people. That's exactly where I started. I did one-on-ones purely for like 2 years.
yeah.
Um, and I was always kind of hesitant with groups myself because I wanted the sessions to be perfect, kind of like how you're saying. And I had like a certain expectation as well. And I do think that it's awesome that you like worked through that and you just kept going versus being like, it's just not going to work. Because I've seen coaches try group coaching and they just think that it's not going to work for them. But the reality is, like, you have to kind of be able to change who you are as a coach to become more confident in that setting. And you have to be willing to change how the session is run and how the communication is done and the expectations and stuff like that. And you're seeing now, like, because I mean, if you think about it, like right now, how many sessions per week are you running, like on a weekly basis?
Well, I'm running one-on-ones and groups. Do you want me to
Yeah.
name all of them
Yeah,
together?
yeah. Just like how many total sessions per week?
So I have about 4 group sessions a week, and then I would say around 4 or 5 one-on-ones.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool. And when you compare the one-on-ones to the groups, because like with your groups, how big can those groups be? Like as far as like the max capacity?
They don't go more than 6 players.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Because I feel like you're at the stage right now where your calendar is probably really consistent, right? Like your week doesn't change like week to week based off
No.
of how many clients you have, right? Um, unless you wanted to take on more one-on-one clients,
Yeah,
right?
that's the only reason why. Yeah.
Right. Um, and so if you compare just like right now in your journey, the group sessions to one-on-one, do you feel like there's a difference in the product as far as the results kids get, or is it similar? Like how do you view that right now? Because you've been doing groups for a while now.
Um, so I would say the the one-on-ones are still getting like tremendous results. Like the one-on-ones
Hmm.
are just getting like great results. My group sessions, I feel like they still do get great results. It just takes them just a little bit more time. Um,
Hmm.
I'm curious if that's only because with the one-on-ones, I can really address every little bit of detail, so then they
Hmm.
see the results much faster. For my one-on-ones, I would say maybe like within 1 to 2 months, that players start noticing like really good results. Whereas with the groups, it might be 2 to 3, maybe 4 months.
Yeah.
So, and maybe that has to do with other personal things from the player. I'm not too sure that
Hmm.
it's to do with the group setting itself. But a lot of the players in my groups are new, and then parents just want them to get accustomed to the game, but with other players. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're not
No,
at
I
the
totally
point where
understand.
they're willing to invest all that much in a one-on-one yet, just because the player is so new.
Right.
Um, with my one-on-ones, they're more so players who are like at a good level, but just want to get better, and that's what
Hmm.
the parent is willing to invest a little bit more. Yeah.
Right. Right. And you also do like camps and clinics too, right? I remember like a couple months ago you had your first clinic, right?
I had, yeah, so exactly. I started doing my first clinic actually in December 2024. I did my first ever camp, but I should have planned that was actually when I was very new to the mentorship with you.
Yeah.
So I wasn't as prepped as I should have been because I was still just applying certain details and advice that you had given me. But yeah, I was like maybe like within less than a month that I had to prep for the camp, but I still ran it with my friend anyway because he had more experience in doing it. But when it came to my clinic, my first ever clinic came just a few months ago. I was very prepped. It was very successful. Both clinics sold out. Um, I would say within a couple of days,
That's
and
huge, man.
those were huge. Yeah, those were good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm curious because the kids that you work with now, like your current clients, what's like the average age of the kids that you're working with at this point?
I have been getting quite a bit older players now, more in the 14, 15, 16 age range. Um, well, on average, I would say it's right around 10, 11, and 12, like right around there. That's like the
Got
sweet.
it. Is it boys and girls or just one gender?
I have one. Okay, so I had one-on-one girl. She just finished her program. She wanted to join my program for one-on-one before high school, so she's gonna go back to high school now. But I still have another girl in my group setting. So, yeah,
Got it.
two girls right now. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool. And when you think about, so like, let's take the business owner hat off. All
Mhm.
right. When I ask you this question, um, just like in general, what's your favorite part about just coaching, like the business aside?
My favorite part about coaching, like at the
Yeah.
training, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think just just like there's moments in the sessions where I have time for a little bit of fun, whether it's in the beginning and we play a little fun mental activation type of game, or it kind of consists of a bit of like fun. There's some fun games that I like to incorporate in my sessions, or whether it's like at the end of the session where I can
Mhm.
just get away from the coaching and just play, have the kids just play, because there are
Right.
moments where it's very important for them to just play and have fun. Um, and I would say that those either the beginning or the end of the session where I can just be me and just have fun with my clients and watch them um smile and laugh, and when they're excited with the results that they're getting, and me seeing that they're happy with themselves. Like I had a client, uh the little boy, he noticed that like when he started tweaking some things around in his shot, he was starting to just score. It was just like spot on. He was doing what I was telling him. And then he was mic'd up that day, and he runs to the ball. He's like, "Yay, I'm happy." And I'm like, we were slapping for like a whole week because his voice, he was like a very cute little voice that he had, but it was like true joy. It's like nothing
Right.
you can't really fake that. Like that's real joy in a kid. And we had got it like right on film, and I was like watching over and over again. It was just so funny to see that. But that was like outside of the coaching. That was like just a true happy moment from a student of
Yeah.
mine who was just happy to just be playing the game like in one of my
Right.
sessions. So yeah, let's watch
What
them
a cool moment. That's
just
awesome,
smile
man.
and laugh.
Yeah. No, and that's something that I had a really, really good coach when I was 13. And I think like when I look back on it, I mean, and I've said this to a couple of people in my life, but like when I look back on my experience playing and growing up and just, you know, where things got to when I started coaching, I don't think I would have ever become a coach if it wasn't for that person. Uh, and some of the stuff that you just said, though, like starting the session out fun or ending the session fun, like that completely changes the dynamics of kids when they get back into their car. Because like
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you end a session like that, it gets everybody like on a really high, happy note. and that psychologically it makes kids want to come back because like of the experience. And I think that's one of the tough things about kids who play club soccer that don't get that experience. It's like it can make them sometimes dread going back to their club practice because like at the end of the day, like the fun is just being sucked out of it.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's really cool that you do that. I didn't know that you had that part of as part of your sessions. So you obviously have, camps, clinics, one-on-ones, groups set up right now. Um, One of the things that I know is a common struggle for a lot of people, especially that live in Cali, where you're at, is
Yeah.
location. So like, and
Mhm.
I actually just had a call with someone literally like an hour ago, and we were talking about this. How did you lock down the place that you're at now?
Yeah, so the location that I am currently at is called So 5, which is kind of like a goals type of
Yeah.
deal. So it's very it's a huge, it's located across the country from what I heard. Um yeah, this location, I called them and I was so like opposed to working and doing anything there because it had such a huge name. Like in the back of
Hmm.
my mind, I was like, no, there's no way I'll never get availability. Or no, there's like everybody's doing training there. But
Right.
one of my friends referred to me. He was actually part of he's a recruiter for Empire Strikers, which is a MASL indoor professional soccer team. Um, I asked him one day, I was like, hey man, like, do you know of any like indoor locations? I'm like really looking for some. He literally just mentioned the same name, which is So 5 Goals, the one that I was so opposed to. And then one day, just for him, it took for me to give him a call to just say, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. And
Right.
I called the location, and they said, I asked them, I was like, hey, like, and for the most part, I wasn't gonna tell them that I'm doing private training until I got there
Mhm.
because I feel like a lot of places in SoCal are just like, no, you can't do personal training. No, no, like
Right.
I called them anyway. And then they told me like, yeah, you can do personal training here. Yeah, it would just be this, like this would be the fee, this and that. And then we worked out like contracts, and so I was able to secure that place. And when I first secured it, I was like, wow, like I was so happy. But I will actually be honest, also,
Yeah.
um,
Please do.
I was going to school at Azusa Pacific University, and I would pretty much use their field.
Yeah.
Um, it got to a point where maybe those club teams pulling up, and then they had the field reserved, and then I had to get off, and then that kind of looked bad on me. I couldn't grow my business, and I
Hmm.
was doing one-on-ones when that happened. And then actually earlier this year, like around January, there was a campus safety officer who asked me if I was a student there. I told him I was yes, I am a student. I even showed him my ID and everything, and he said that I'm not allowed to train players there. But in my mind, I was like, wait, you guys told me I had to get like a permit and everything. What do you mean I can't train players here? Like, I
Hmm.
was told like if I get a permit, apparently I had to not a permit, insurance. Apparently I had to get a
Gotcha.
permit, but then he threatened in the middle of my session. He threatened to get me arrested, and
Oh
so
my gosh.
I'm not even kidding. I actually just saw him maybe last week, and I was very upset because I still remember it. And I told him, hey, you can't kick me out again. I'm still a student here. I'm not running a session. I'm just filming content on my own. I listened to what you said. I stopped doing sessions here, but I can be here and film content. And then he ended up calling the police on me for real this time, just for filming content. And I'm still a student there too. So I don't know
Wow,
what
Edgar.
this whole deal was, but at the same time, it was a blessing because when he threatened to do that earlier in January, that was like the light and the spark.
Yeah.
Actually, right after he kicked me off the field, um, I made the phone call. Like after I had, so it was like 30 minutes in, 15 minutes into the session with my client, we just like drove to the next field over, which is like at a public park, and then I said, "No way, this is embarrassing." And he was a 16-year-old kid, and he's one of my talented players, most talented players. He just did a camp in San Diego. Apparently, he did very good. Played in Spain and everything. But I said, you know what, bro, my bad. Sorry, you had to see that. Like I'll take care of it. I'll figure something out. And then that
Yeah.
was like the spark. And I made the call maybe that same day, and I secured something with So 5, and you know, in a way, I'm not thankful for the guy, but I'm thankful that it happened the way it happened.
Yeah.
I had to do something. Like I had to do something new. And I took your
Yeah.
advice. I was trying to skip steps. But I took your advice and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna do this. If I have to pay something, I'll just pay it. And then
Yeah.
but yeah, that was still at the point where I was like, I still want to do it for free. um,
Yep.
but paying at a location was what, like, I would say 5x my business, literally 5x. And yes, I did have to spend a little bit money, but I still 5x my business compared to what I
Yeah.
was doing before. So
Yeah.
that's, you know, I didn't even
Yeah.
know paying that.
And it gives you the peace of mind too.
But yeah,
And I
the,
know, yeah,
yeah.
when you were telling that story about the cop, it's like something very similar happened to me very early when I started coaching kids at a college that I didn't go to, that I knew I shouldn't have been there, but I used their field because like it was early enough and I thought I could just do it. And I did it successfully there for like almost a year. And then I got cocky and I ran a big camp
Oh.
there on a Sunday morning. I remember Sunday morning at 7:30. That was a 2-hour thing. And I never ever saw cops there. Never saw anybody until
Wow.
that day. And it was like 15 minutes into the thing, and they kicked me off, and
Oh
I
my
had to
God.
refund everyone their money. And it was a big deal for me because like everyone who would come to camps and clinics and stuff like that, I would sell them into my actual program.
Mm,
Uh, and so like that was a huge problem that day, and it forced me to find something else like literally within 24 hours. And I ran my business from there for 12 years. Uh,
mm.
but it took that one little spark to get me to like get my head on straight and realize, all right, I'm not going to be able to do it here.
Yeah.
And because I would always look over my shoulder when I even like no one was there, like on Sundays, I'd still always be looking around and be
Yeah.
afraid, and that can affect the whole session and just the whole business. So yeah, I mean, you have the peace of mind, and um, have, you've grown the business a lot since you made that change. So let's talk about like as far as the amount of customers you're working with now compared to like when you kind of initially started with me. So like how many clients did you have when you like maybe like a month before you got to me? Do you remember like what that was
Um,
like?
so I started off with like 3 or 4, and then it was slowly starting to get into like 6, 7, maybe 8. Like, but the thing is, it was more so like on and off. So like even like leading up to the mentorship with you was like 6, 7 would be like on and off, maybe
Hmm.
3, 4 consistent ones. But it
Hmm.
was like, yeah, it was not really over that limit. It was like I was stuck under 10 always.
Right.
Whatever the situation was. Yeah.
Right. So it was like you had clients, but they just weren't as like consistent as you wanted them to be, type of thing.
Right, right. But then I noticed that um my most consistent clients were the ones that were getting the best results.
Correct.
So then when I saw when I joined your mentorship, that's when I was like, because I was charging session per session.
Yeah.
So in my mind, like giving them the lowest price. Oh, here, this is how much it costs for the session. But then joining the mentor was like, wait, I feel like that's gonna scare my new clients off. But then it made so much sense. Like after kind of like joining and reevaluating like everything, I was like, wait, that does make sense. Like your mentorship and the way you structured it makes like 1,000% sense. And so at that point, it was like, okay, just applying these details, I could definitely retain a lot more
Right.
clients. Yeah.
Got it. And specifically, because feel free to talk about, you can go into as much depth on this as you want. What details did you have to change to get to the point that you're at now, as far as like within the business? Because like I know you just mentioned like you thought it might scare some people off, but it made sense. Like, so what specific things did you kind of switch around with the business to get it to where it's at now?
Well, I mean, again, the first thing was the location. I mean,
Yep.
I couldn't even begin to run any group sessions at the same locations that I was doing it. So the location was like the most important. And then the second thing was more so now offering packages that were
Hmm.
3 or 6 month ones.
Hmm.
Right before your mentorship, I was trying to I was trying to do session packages, not monthly packages. It was more so like
Yeah.
so like I was trying to sell like 5 session
Hmm.
packages or 3 session, but that didn't really work because and then that didn't have like a time constraint. I didn't put a time
Yeah.
constraint. It was more so like, okay, you have 5, like let's just schedule whenever you want, like those 5, as long as they're
Right.
used up. But then
Yep.
like the monthly package was more so like a different structure like that I had started to implement
Hmm.
because that was within a time frame. And then I
Hmm.
knew after I applied it, I knew that within this time frame I could get a certain amount of results from
Right.
clients. So
Right.
yeah. So now when I hop
Cool.
on calls, some parents might ask me, so like, how much time do you think it'll take before my son starts to
Hmm.
notice results? I can give them a pretty accurate like number.
Right.
Right around that 2-3 month mark is when they'll see the most amount of results. Some just they just naturally get results faster, but that's because they have a lot more to learn and they're learning the basics. So okay, they can learn the easier stuff. But around 2 to 3 months is when they start noticing some
Hmm.
decent results and their confidence just skyrockets like a ton compared to the first
Right.
time you come in.
Right. Yeah, and that gives parents certainty around why they have to commit for that period of time minimum
Yeah.
versus just like doing one-off stuff or even selling a pack of 5. Because like if you did a pack of 5 and they were like one session away from getting the tangible result that you wanted and like they don't get it because it was only 5 sessions, then they won't be as pleased with your program as they should be. So cool. So you do like the 3 and the 6 month commitment. So I know
Mhm.
you like had to make some tweaks with like how people pay you,
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
contract, and that sort of stuff. Um, so I'm curious to see how you think, because everyone's different about this, but when you talk to a parent and you just like know deep down in your heart, like, I don't know if they're a good fit for what I do.
Hmm.
Um, how do you approach that now? Like when you talk to a parent and you just have that gut feeling that they're not going to be a good fit for your program, like they're them or their child. How do you deal with
Yeah. So I think I might have had that. I have had like 2 parents this week who either came to an evaluation session or came to my clinic earlier this week. I think I don't know if this is the right move, but I kind of analyzed the so first I analyzed the session and the way I see their body language and everything,
that?
and then
Hmm.
second, have that quick chat. Like I had a parent this week who came to an evaluation session. He had 2 kids who came to an evaluation session, and even he noticed their body language, and he came up to me and apologized for their body language. I made one more suggestion that they could come to a different class, but after that,
Hmm.
I knew it was going to be just tough because I knew um, what the kid was looking for was probably just not going to be it. He had already had like a really not so good first evaluation session.
Right.
In my mind, I don't know. I could still reach out to the parent, but I haven't. Like that was our follow up. Like that right there, we knew like
Yeah.
it was a bit off. He sounded like interested, but his kids didn't sound as interested. So
Hmm.
after I was like very hesitant, and I kind of read based off the kids' body language, like they probably don't want to be here at all. Like
Hmm.
so, the parents interested, but then it was more so like the kids' body language. I don't know if I want a player like that in my program, like
Right.
because then that tells me like, what if they come and they're not feeling so good one day, and they just don't want to perform or they don't want to do like I can't have that type of standard in one of my classes.
Right.
So
You're right.
at that point,
Yeah.
I didn't follow up after. I haven't. I mean, it's just a couple days out. But yeah, I mean, just because one of the even there was the other kid was more so like they were saying that they were feeling sick or something, and then I kind of start looking into those things like are they sick or they just don't want to be here? Or then one of the boys was actually like completely just walking. I'm just like, I don't know. Even if the dad was super interested, which he sounded like he was, I don't know
Hmm.
that I'd be willing to bring the kid in. Like that's the thing.
Hmm.
So now I can kind of go based
Yeah.
on your judgment and what I feel would be appropriate. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I've always approached it. It has to be a total package. Like
yeah,
the parents have to be willing to invest and be like involved enough, and the kid has to want to be there. Um, and it's good though, man, because you have your own set of expectations, and
yeah,
I can't tell you how important it is. Like at the stage you're at right now, like if you're looking to continue to grow the business, which I believe you are, it's like the more kids you get into a group setting, the more likely it is that you're going to run into some kids that just don't want it as bad as the other kids. So it's
yeah,
like, I think it's good for coaches to keep their guard up and like be very selective when they get their business to a certain point where it's like they're only going to accept certain types of kids and families into their business, because that one kid who doesn't want to be there, when they come to enough sessions, it starts to bleed into the other kids, and they'll be like, well,
yeah,
that kid's being lazy, so I'm just going to be lazy, or he's not doing push-ups every time Jesse's turning it back around. Like, so it's
yeah,
like it's
yeah,
it it becomes like an infection that is hard to stop once they get in. And that's why, man, it's good to have your own expectations. And the thing that's hilarious that I see is like every single coach that I've worked with up to this point that becomes a lot more successful after they join my program than they were before. When I look at their actual business, the main thing that they changed was their standard of who they want to coach.
yeah,
And um, some of the most ruthless coaches I've ever been around that are the most successful, it's like they turn people away all the time because they know how important that is. And they put their ego to the side, and they're like, I can't help every kid. I don't want to help every kid. I want to help the right kids who really, really want the coaching, and the right families that aren't going to be a pain in the butt to deal with. Um,
yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
solid, man.
And the situation with this child, well, he was around 14 years old, and I guess his dad had gave me some feedback saying that he was hoping that the group would be older kids, but there was some that were his age. But I'm curious if he meant older or more skilled. So, but then I evaluated the kid, and I said to myself, even if I did put him with the higher leveled kids, he would not be at the level. And that's why we have the evaluation sessions, because
Mhm.
I wouldn't even put him in the evaluation session with, or sorry, in a training program with the older players, because the older players who are really, really skilled, they're playing MLS, EA,
Right,
ECNL levels. And based on my evaluation of him, I don't think he would have been to the level
right,
that
right.
he thinks he's at. But that's another thing, is we have to have the evaluation for them, because the parent thinks that they're at this level, or the parent thinks that they can do this, but
Mhm.
that's just their assumption based on what they've
Yeah,
seen. They're like the best player in their AYSO team or something, but then they come to like a a really high level class like the one that I have on Mondays,
mhm.
where those kids have been. One of the kids has been playing in Spain, the other is MLS Next, EA. Like these are all good level players, and I think it's good for the coach to kind of relay that information back to the parent so that they really know, because some of them are used to just their child being the best player on their team.
Yep,
You don't realize that
yep.
there's a whole different set of eyes that we have in their child, and then you have
Right.
to kind of relay that over and make it understandable for them. So
Mhm. Yeah, it's
yeah,
always amazed me how in my career how so many parents would hype their kids up, and you're right though, they're only limited to what they actually see, and they're not when they're not exposed to like higher level coaching or higher level players, like they only just base it around how their kid is on their club, or because
yeah,
they might be at a lower level club or a lower level league, and they can go score 20 goals a season like with
yeah,
their eyes closed. um yeah, no, that's interesting. So I'm curious, a different kind of question, but like you've been on enough of the coaching calls that we offer. You've been in my school group for,
Mhm.
the last like 7, 8 months. You've gone through the material. I feel like you've done very well since you've joined my program, but who
Mhm.
would you say that my program is not for? Like when you think of like the mentality of someone who's trying to learn or grow their business, like what would you say to someone who's watching, like, you know, don't join this program if you're fill in the blank?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, so I mean, definitely if you're lazy, for sure. Like if you're lazy and you're not the type to be self-motivated in anything, if you're not passionate enough, definitely don't join it. And then I noticed a lot of trainers, like if you're the type to just post content for like clicks, like
Yeah,
but not really like growth. There's a lot of
yeah,
trainers like everyone wants to be a trainer now. Like don't don't join Ben's program if you are like the type to just look for clicks and all these like fancy flashy like moments of social media posts and all these things, because I feel like their priority is more so like how
on
cool can I
themselves.
make my session look rather than how structured can my program be and
Yes.
how proven is it to work, rather than, because it's like two different things. Like, and that was my main thing. It's like I knew that me going viral wasn't going to be the biggest thing to grow. It was going to be how structured and how much more can I retain
Right.
clients, how much more can I make more people happy. So that was the number one thing, was not getting like 1,000 likes per post. It was like how many of my clients can I genuinely get results from and
Hmm.
help lead to the higher level. Because
Hmm.
that's like there's trainers who do the complete opposite from what I just mentioned. They're just
Yeah.
all about the clicks. They're all about
Yeah.
making themselves look flashy and cool. But like, don't join if you're if you're that type of coach, right? Because
Yeah.
literally, I'm seeing everyone is trying to be a trainer today, and
Yeah.
everyone has a little phone out in their session, and it's all about like that.
Mm.
And a lot of the ones that are just starting off, they're all they want to do is record it, and they don't
Mm.
really want to do the because when I joined your program, I realized the importance of the back end stuff, like the
Yeah.
business, the structure of it, and then for me, that was more important than just getting a thousand likes on Instagram.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
No, and I'm glad that you said that, because when I spend very little time on Instagram. Like I just like post and I leave, or I run ads, and like I don't even log in at Instagram when I do that.
mm,
And when I have spent time on there, because I used to spend a lot of time on there from like 2018 to 2023, like messaging coaches and doing all that. And I've noticed though, a lot of coaches, they just make it about themselves, like
yeah,
where it's like, how famous can they get? How many
yeah,
followers can they get? And it's 99% of the time, it's not actually doing anything to their business, and it's not doing anything to help their actual clients. And so it's like, I always see this, that when coaches become selfless, they start making way more money, and they start actually helping people. But the social media, I think, is a at this point for a lot of coaches, like they're doing their business a disservice by just making everything that they do on there about themselves, because it's drawing attention, but it's 99%, it's not even the right eyeballs,
yeah,
and it's not really growing their business. But they think that if they become more popular, it's going to help them with their credibility. um, and I talk to people all the time that have 100,000 followers that are making like less than $1,000 a month. And
wow,
you know but when I look at their page, it's exactly what you're talking about. They figured out how to run viral reels on Instagram, but they are
yeah,
not selling high ticket packages. They don't have committed clients. So it's a completely different ball game when we think about actually growing the business versus what most people are doing now on social media. And I'm glad you talked about that, because that is a issue that a lot of people have. And then I think when they start to boil it down to like, how many actual leads am I getting right now from all this work that I'm doing on social media?
Yeah.
When they genuinely ask themselves that question, most people stop doing the stuff that they're doing and they start to become more selfless. And they're like, all right, how can I grow this business now?
Yeah. And I like the word that you mentioned about selfless, because like I actually posted a story yesterday where I mentioned that the athlete and the parent but the athlete is the overall hero. Like they are who the
Yes.
story is about. So I actually talked about that on the phone, actually on the Instagram story, because there was too many trainers in the area. Actually, the whole story was about trainers turning clients down because they're
Mhm.
not available. And I just recently got on a call where I had a prospect telling me how the coach that they were looking to train with was just not available. And then she resurfaced back to me and said that, like, look, the way I'm doing things is different, and that she's very happy with the way I'm doing it. And she recognized that I was available. But I said, the story ended up coming back to, like, how can we deny, prospects for not being available? But then,
Mhm.
it doesn't make sense. Like, the story was supposed to be about how it's about them. They are the priorities.
Right.
I talked about how they are the heroes. Like, they are the
Mhm.
ones that are making the transformation. And so it amazes me till this day how trainers are just, they all want to do one-on-ones, but then film it, and then there's only so much time in the day. You can't like,
You
you
can't
know,
do everything.
yeah, you can't do it all. And it's like you're just gonna keep denying clients because you're doing one-on-ones for like 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So then that's when I
Yeah.
had to do groups, because I realized I wanted to give more athletes attention and
Mhm.
help them create the story that they're gonna make transformations and get results. So
Mhm.
yeah, being selfless does help, definitely does.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's how someone creates a long-term successful business, is they put the kids first. And obviously they pay attention hard to the business. Like they need to understand what's going on and how to market and how to grow and stuff like that. But they make the product, as far as the coaching and the results, they make that the primary objective from the beginning. And those are the ones that can go the furthest, because the parents, especially parents now, because dude, when I started it, and I live in San Antonio, like there's like over 1 million people live in my city. And it's probably like 1.5 million people now. But like when I started, there was one other person that had like a really legit soccer business, and there was me. And there were just two of us. Like
Yeah.
now, like it was crazy. Like I think it was 6 months ago, I drove out to the old park that I used to train kids at, and um, I saw there were probably like 9 different coaches there running their own sessions. And I was like, this is insane. And that was just at one park. And, when I look online, like on Coach Up or, Google, like in my area, it's like there's so many people now that have businesses, um, compared to how it was when I started. And, in your situation, like you're in like literally the most competitive, I would say the most competitive market in the United States. Like where you're at, Miami, North Carolina, like spots in North Carolina, um, different spots in like Austin, Dallas, and Houston, like are also hyper competitive. But like it's always going to come down to the interaction that the parents have with you and the professionalism that they see, because like most of these
Mhm.
parents that get to you now have probably already hired someone else and they weren't pleased with that, so when they came to you, it's because that's the thing now, it's like it's so common for kids to get private training.
I
And
get I get a lot of those clients.
yeah,
Client,
and that's just the reality now. And that's why when someone can experience your program from the beginning, they're like, wow, this is like so professional compared to what we used to have. So it's hard for them at that point
yeah.
to want to go experience something else because they have it so good with you. And I think that's the ingredient that a lot of coaches really have to have down
Yeah.
if they want to do this as like a legit career. So, so last question I have for you, man. What do you think for you personally? Um, what's the biggest thing you feel like you've learned about yourself, just being a business owner at this point, um, that you could try to articulate and explain to someone who's watching this? And like, maybe it's someone who hasn't started their business yet, or maybe they have started and they just haven't taken it as serious as you. But like, what's something you feel like you've learned about just you and yourself about running a business?
Well, yeah, it's the first ever business I ever run. You know, I do love it, but I would say one thing I learned about myself is that the more I grind, the more people I can help at the end of the day. This is the type
Mm,
of business where you have to, like I mentioned, have to be self-motivated. You have to have the passion for it to reach.
mhm.
Well, and I don't even think that it's about how many more people you reach, but how many more people actually make transformations based off
Yep.
your coaching.
Yep.
If you what I learned, and this is like so just even with life, what I learned about myself is that the more prepped you are, the more successful you'll become. And preparation, being proactive, that all comes with how you plan your sessions. So I am very, very, very intentional with my planning, um, because I need to have a structure. Like I have to create structure in my own life, in my own business. And if I don't have it, that's when I start to panic and I start to think,
Hmm.
oh, things will go wrong. You know,
Hmm.
when I mentioned that things where I would get anxiety, like before sessions, it wasn't because I wasn't planning. It was because then I was over planning, and then I had the issues like, oh, is this kid gonna do it? Well, is this gonna work? Well, it was more so that was where the anxiety from. I still planned everything. Sometimes I over plan, I start changing things around, but I would still rather be proactive and still, you know, overdo that, because then I would be comfortable knowing that I
Yeah.
have something to go based off of. And then just being
Hmm.
structured, being organized, like those are things that I learned a lot about myself. But I would say the biggest thing is planning, because before it was like when I first started, I didn't have as much planning. I just knew I wanted to do like one or two, maybe three drills on my one-on-one classes.
Hmm.
Um, but now I have groups. Like this, the transition has to be smooth. That way, there's
Yep.
not so much time wasting. You know, that way I can get more done. And then if I can get more done, that means that the kids would they won't have too much time to waste. And
Hmm.
that whole hour that they're with me would be very effective and efficient. And then they can see results long term.
Hmm.
So that's what I
Gotcha.
learned about myself. And then at the end of the day, like the back end stuff, um, you know, just tracking everything, you know,
Hmm.
being neat and organized with the registration links and all that stuff, like promoting
Hmm.
your clinics and classes and whatnot. And um, you know, you learn a lot about your confidence as well behind the camera, because I actually joined a content membership, or not meant content creation mentorship. So
Hmm.
learning just how important content can be, like the right
Hmm.
type of content. So, you know, being behind a camera, you a little bit shy, but then I learned that like just confidence
Right.
behind the camera can also be translated over to the confidence behind,
Yep.
you know, the training session. And parents see that, like they when they're really bought in, they really observe the coach as well. So um,
Right.
if you're a confident coach who's like really giving off good coaching points that are very helpful, parents see that stuff. So I would say just about myself, growing in my confidence for sure.
Yeah.
Back to the first thing that you asked me about, um, yeah, those things are not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. Parents can, they can see it and they can feel it. It's just like it's like when someone walks into a room and they just like command the room. It's like coaches can be that way at their sessions, and parents at the end of the day in this business, like the coach has to be able to lead the kids and the parents. They lead the parents through the sales process. They lead the kids through the transformation with the coaching. Cool, man. So last thing before we go, I mean, now that you've been in my program for a while, like why would you recommend this program to someone who is trying to grow their business? Like if you had to think of like maybe one or two things, like why should they join?
Well, I actually had a buddy who I was like bugging left and right to join your program, because I knew he was a great trainer, but I felt like he was just kind of all over the place, and that's
Hmm.
pretty much the main reason why I
Hmm.
would tell anybody else to join is that um there was so much structure, and I know it's such a vague word to use, but the
Right.
back end things of everything, like as simple as creating a program that's built off consistency. Again, I spoke
Hmm.
about that in the Instagram story. How there has to be like a program that you create that consists of consistency.
Hmm.
Um, and if you're looking for that to grow, well, that's ultimately what it's going to take is just the structure, the back end things of your program. Um, it also helps you just I would say your program helps you just stay organized. So, you do have a lot of these tracker spreadsheets that
Hmm.
you help us to download and use for ourselves. So that way we can keep up with everything, like everyone we're bringing onto our program and who's signing, who's not. I mean, a lot of times we don't see that if we don't have a program like this. And when you fail to see that, that's when you kind of miss out on where you're like, for example, like
Hmm.
where your leads are coming from and where they're actually
Yep.
converting. You need to know all those little details. So I think you're pretty spot on with keeping us accountable on that. Um, Overall, just getting a mentor is just, I mean, like mentorship is huge. I would say if you're looking for a mentor who's got so much more experience and knowledge in the field that you're currently in, like seek a mentor. You know,
Hmm.
I would
Hmm.
I would I would say, yeah, just seek a mentor, and I'm thankful for you even till today, like with
Yeah,
everything.
man.
What?
No, you've been awesome to work with, and like I always look at the people that come through my program that see the most success at the end of the day. And I had an interview with someone that went out on Monday, and he talked about this, but it reminded me, it's like it's the coaches that care the most about the kids that they train, and they like have the attention to detail, and they genuinely want to have a better business, not just for themselves but for their clients. Those are
Yeah,
the people that can see the most growth, especially long term, because they see it as a legitimate career and business, not a side thing that they want to do for
mm-hmm.
forever. Uh, and but it always comes back down to just caring. And uh, and it's funny because I was thinking about this yesterday. Uh, and I wasn't even work. I didn't work yesterday, but I had this thought when I was driving. I was like, why do I care so much?
I've I've told myself the same thing on the drive
Yeah,
home. I bug my girlfriend. I was like, I tell her about this and this client. She's like, "Can you just leave work and stop talking so much about it?"
yeah,
Like, she'll be like, "Can we
yeah,
just focus on us?" I'm just like in my mind, I care a lot for sure.
right, yeah,
But
yeah.
in,
And it's funny because like maybe about like 6 or 7 years ago, because like I've changed a lot with how I think about like why I cared now versus how I cared then. But I I looked at it almost as like a negative thing, like maybe 5 6 years ago, like why I care so much, like why do I keep thinking about the kids that I'm working with and like where they're at and tracking everything. And the way I look at it now is like, it's like because I love what I do so much, it's like it's good to care more than everybody else. Um,
yeah,
and at the end of the day, I think and now it's not a negative thing, to be able to care a lot. It's important to obviously disconnect and have some time to not be focused on it 24 hours a day. Uh, but I've always noticed that like people like you that have really taken what we have and run with it. It's like they just really care about, they care, like they care a lot. about what they do and the quality of what they do. And that's something I didn't know about too earlier when you're talking about the first trainer you had. The second trainer you had, the guy from South America. Like
Yeah.
you said, and it this like really resonated with me. But you were like, yeah, he was really neat and professional with how he did everything. And it's funny because like if you think about that experience you had with that coach, because I have heard you say things on our coaching calls about how you like everything to be like
Hmm.
really well prepared, really precise. Like you want every drill to look super clean. And it's
Yeah.
like by having that experience with that other coach that you did pay, right? Like that helped you form kind of like how you run your stuff now. And that thing makes a huge difference. And it just goes to show like you really care. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually we actually ended up doing the same online program out of Spain. So there's a
Cool.
master's degree program online for specifically for professional players in the strength and conditioning area. We ended up doing the same program. He was a bit ahead of me because he started it before, but I actually ended up doing the same program that he did. So we both,
Wow,
we
cool.
both experienced, but he was on that thing left and right. He was just referring back to all the material and just seeing his passion for it. I was like, man, this is great.
Mm-hmm. That's cool, man. Awesome, man. Well, I wanted to first, before we go, just say thank you for not only investing into the program, but being really committed. And thanks for putting out an awesome product to the kids that you work with. Like you make I know deep down in your heart you're making a big impact, but you're making a much bigger impact than you could possibly imagine with the kids that you work with. So I want to say hats off to you. Keep up the great work, and um, I'll see you probably on Tuesday on our next coaching
Yeah,
call.
yeah. I've made it a priority to show up to that weekly. So I'm definitely gonna start doing that every week now. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Okay, cool, man. Thanks so much, and have a blessed week, and I'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.